The revolution has arrived. Now, a lot of you guys probably don't realize why Plume Crate Escort is such a significant Magic card, and I'm going to tell you right now. So just for reference, Plume Crate Escort is a flash flying 2/1 bird scout for blue 1. When it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains hexproof till end of turn. For all intents and purposes, this is a 2-power instant speed creature that you can deploy end of turn while holding open a 2-mana counterspell. It has evasion, and it's obviously in the same color as any great 2-mana counterspell. Everything from counterspell to mana drain to negate to remove soul, whatever. Now let me take you back to 2014. In M15, we were introduced to a card called Quickling. This is blue 1 for a 2/2 flash flying fairy rogue. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you return another creature you control to its owner's hand. Now just so you guys know, 10 years ago, there had never been a flash flying 2-power creature, ever. And this one didn't even really all the way qualify, because you had to return another creature to your hand. But you know, it got you thinking, tempo strategies, right? Because in literally any era of Magic, whether mana leak or negate or counterspell, blue players like to hold open 2 mana for a counterspell and then deploy a threat end of turn or draw some cards if they don't cast the counterspell. But obviously the drawback here suggested they didn't really want to give us a straight 2-power flash flyer, because this was really still the era of like Welkin turn and limited. You'd get like kind of a bad 2-mana 2-power flyer that couldn't block. It was a common. You'd play it in limited and tempo decks, and that was about it. Or they'd give you something like Tidehull's Tricks that required 2 colors and was kind of underpowered and didn't have flash. But at the time, a 2/1 flash flyer for 2 straight up just wasn't going to happen. And so then a couple years later, when they gave us Dimensional Infiltrator, which is actually just a 2-mana flash flyer for 2 that has kind of a weird ability, I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is a thing that I can actually play in a format like Highlander Gauntlet. And of course, in Standard, this didn't really make much of an impact, but it at least started to kind of get the wheels turning as far as what was possible. And right at the same time, Wizards gave us Rattlechains. 2-mana flash flyer spirit. This one gives protection to another spirit, and you can cast all your spirits with flash. This card actually did some damage in spirits decks. This was like a real card in the spirits deck. People played it, made an impact in Modern, and so we had 2 flash, 2-mana, 2/1 flyers in the same year. That was 8 years ago. Well, let me tell you what has happened in the last few years for those of us that actually want to play this type of strategy. We started getting these creatures with upside at all rarities. Zephyr Sentinel was very playable and limited. The same year we got Spectral Adversary. This card's really good, has tons of upside. 2023, we got a pretty good commander. This does require black, but still. Also 2023, Malcolm. This card is very good. We got Fairy Mastermind, the best 2-mana flash flyer 2/1 ever, an invitational card, which is insanely good. And now we get Plume Crate Escort, the 6th one of these in the last 3 years. And this card is just really good. Like, this is exactly what you want any card in this strategy to be able to do. Protect your other flash 2-mana 2/1 flyers, holding open counter spells, boom. Are most of these powerful or playable in Commander? Absolutely not. Maybe a few of them that have like global effects like Fairy Mastermind or possibly that Commander, but most of them, 2-mana 2/1 flash flyer doesn't really do a whole lot in Commander when people have 40 life and you have 3 opponents. But I am telling you, as somebody who has been watching this happen over the last decade, there's going to be a deck. There's going to be a good deck in Standard at some point that's going to play these, because that 2-mana counterspell / 2/1 flyer for 2 is just too good to ignore.